Jeff's going to take a couple questions. Just one quick note, there is more food in the back, so please partake of it, and it won't be rude because if we're talking now. I did want to acknowledge, just real quick, candidate for city council, Adam's not paying attention, Adam Crossman, running at large, Republican running at large. And Richard Jurgis running for Ward 2. You may remember Dick was a at-large council for many years. I'm very familiar with Ward 2. I am humiliated by the fact that the current incumbent is my councilor. Please help Dick in any way you can. And how about some questions? Show of hands right here.
Yeah. Two, real quick. First, the video that he's taken, can it be made available to your email distribution list so we can get it out to people?
Yes.
Second question, maybe not so easy. What is your position, Geoff, on the legislature voting themselves a 40% pay increase and a $20,000 expense allowance increase and calling it emergency funding?
Right. The question is, what's my position on the legislative pay raises that happened at the beginning of this session, where salaries weren't increased? That's where they technically come off as saying we didn't increase our salaries, they increased stipends. In some cases, 40% increases. And this, by the way, goes on the back of a 4% cost of living increase that the legislature got. So when household incomes go up or down, our salaries, the legislative salaries go up or down. And so it was a 4% increase this last year, naturally just from that. But then that didn't seem to be enough. So the legislature put in the emergency preamble so it would happen immediately. They would make that money immediately, actually retroactively, even paying themselves a few weeks, retroactive pay for all the hard work they've done. So they went from having stipends where if you're a chairman of a committee, you would make $15,000, and you were a vice chair of a committee, you'd make $7,500, and they bumped it up to $30,000 to be a chair of a committee and $15,000 to be a vice chair. And in the Senate, because there's only 40 members in the Senate, you may be a chair or co-chair of multiple committees. They made it so you can collect up to 3 different lanes of that. So a 30-30-30 is possible in the Senate. $90,000 right there if you were just one really lucky senator that gets your Senate president to appoint to it. My position was that I voted against it. I turned down the raises. And the other thing, too, is I also filed the language to put term limits back on the Speaker and the Minority Leader at the State House in the rules debate. And I'll just tell you what that means. Speaker Diehl promised that when he took over for Sal DeMacy, who was convicted federally and went to prison, when Speaker Diehl ran, he said he would be for term limits. And he betrayed his own Democrat Party by taking away term limits last session. So last session I filed to put term limits back in. I did it again this session, and this time I added minority leader to be term limited too, because there should be healthy turnover in leadership in the legislature. I'm not saying term limit the seat itself. I mean, that's another debate I think that should be had, how long people serve up on Beacon Hill. But leadership certainly should be refreshed more often, and it's not. And just so you know, there's a rep from Boston named Russell Holmes who had the audacity as a Democrat to question Speaker Diehl on term limits and the new appointment of the new Ways and Means chair. And he was just taken off of the Housing Committee, his vice chairmanship of Housing Committee. So he loses his money, and I'll bet you he'll never, ever be appointed to a leadership position again. Most likely will be primaried in next cycle around too. Don't ever question leadership up on Beacon Hill if you want to stick around. Although I will say again, I have a great district where if you actually vote the will of the people and you don't care about financial gain for yourself, you can stay up on Beacon Hill and continue to work for the people. So yes, against those pay raises, disaster. And by the way, the cost of it is $18 million a year. They wrapped in judges' increases there so that it couldn't be repealed with a ballot question, because the state can't, our laws say that you can't repeal judges' salaries. So they tied it together with some judge salaries to make it, to inoculate it basically.
Follow up on term limits. You go down to Washington, what would you do to enhance or kind of persuade term limits? There have been senators in positions in Washington since the 70s. I was in grade school in the 70s. Okay, it's absolutely ridiculous. Okay, and if you don't say term limits, then say age limits, because there's people in Washington right now that I don't even think they know where they are.
I'll stay away from age limits, but I'll stick with term limits. First of all, I'm total agreement that there should be a cutoff as to how many times you serve. I don't know what the magic number is, but I will tell you one of the things I think, and people may not realize this, but a state rep in Massachusetts is up for re-election every 2 years. A state senator in Massachusetts is up for re-election every 2 years. A congressman from Massachusetts is up for election every 2 years. It's only your state senators, U.S. senators, I'm sorry, that get that 6-year term. Here's the problem with these elected officials being up every 2 years. You only have about a year or so of being effective and debating real issues that matter before you have to start thinking about campaigning and raising money again. To me, you increase the length of the term, I don't know, make it a 4-year term, and then you can only serve 2 or 3 terms and you're done. Increase the length of the term so that special interest doesn't buy those elected officials, because I can tell you, I live in 3-bedroom communities. Abington, Whitman, East Bridgewater. Everybody gets up and goes to work for a small company, or they own a small business, or they're a union guy or gal that works for a union jobs. But I don't have any major industry, any major retail. I have no federal buildings, I have no state buildings. So I have a district of people that just get up and go to work every day, and they, I think they expect that somebody's going to go to Beacon Hill or to Washington and serve them without them having to continually donate to keep the person they want in office. But special interest swoops in after a while, and they start to basically buy off these politicians with big donations that keep them in office. So I'd rather not have the taxpayers continually have to, every 2 years, scrape up $50, $100 to keep me in office. I'd rather make it a longer term for less time. I hope that answers the question.
Which does, thank you.
I'll work my way over that way, right here.
In the Republican Party, you have so many divides, and how are you going to provide leadership in that to overturn or get the cohesiveness to lead this country into a better way, instead of being divided within your own party?
It's one of those things where you're looking down in Washington, D.C., and you're saying, how can we not have our act together? We spent 8 years basically saying we need to have Republicans control everything, and now that they've got control, they can't get their act together. I guess the hope is that individual leadership can ultimately replace what's going on down there with pure partisanship. And let me just tell you, when I did the gas tax ballot question, my reward for the work I did up there was to be taken off of the Ways and Means Committee by my own party. Then when Charlie Baker won, I asked him, could you put in a good word for me for Transportation Committee, because I know so much from the gas tax work. I'd like to be on Transportation. I got put on Transportation. I asked Stephanie Pollock, the Secretary of Education, can Massachusetts handle the Olympics in 7 years with $6 billion of deferred maintenance? The response was 2 weeks later I was taken off of Transportation Committee by my own party. When you ask the right questions, but everybody wants the games to just continue to go, you're going to get in trouble. But like I said, it doesn't matter whether I'm working with or against Republicans or Democrats. I'm ultimately working for the people. You've got to go to Washington, D.C. and start working with like-minded folks, regardless of party, on good issues, like fixing immigration. I know you want to ask questions about immigration, I'm guessing. But the thing is, the system is broken. I, again, this morning just talked about the fact that it's kept broken in Washington, D.C. on purpose. They've created a permanent, dependent underclass of people that get government assistance but work under the table, and there's corporations that are abusing those folks by putting them to work at twice the hours for half the rate. A lot of this system, it's right there in front of our face, but we won't fix it. You need to get out there and not be afraid to say what needs to get done. I think leadership has to be the solution for the future.
Just a quick point for both you and everybody here. I think it's really important to change the vernacular. Stop calling it single payer, because that actually has a slight positive ring to it. Call it government healthcare, which is what it really is. And I think that will resonate very differently.
How about we call it RMV care? If anybody likes going to the RMV to get their license redone or something like that, yeah, you're going to really enjoy getting your tonsils out with government-run hospitals. Yeah, that's a great point. If you like the U.S. postal system versus FedEx. You're going to love government-run healthcare. Thank you.
Elizabeth Warren won with the union support, and the illegals were voting with the unions. They were there on their side, protesting with them. How are you going to deal with the union people? And I just heard that Trump is going to go try to go after the teachers' union and get some of those people on his side.
So you're never going to win everybody in the state. Teachers' union is one of the biggest unions. They have a lot of folks who are teachers that are Republicans. You don't hear about it often, but I see them in my district. The other big one was the firefighters. You know, back when Scott Brown was running, he was hoping the firefighters would stay neutral. They ended up getting involved in Elizabeth Warren's race. They helped her. But I'll tell you one thing that was really interesting was I talked to the new PFFM chief, who happens to be from Whitman, my town. He's the new chief of the firefighters, the president of the firefighters union in Mass. We had a coffee about a year ago, and I said, "Hey, you going to be with Trump?" And he goes, well, he was laughing because sort of like a joke. But he said, actually, we had our big national meeting, and all the southern firefighters unions want to endorse Donald Trump. All the northern ones, who are traditionally more Democrat, don't want to endorse Donald Trump, but they don't want to endorse Hillary Clinton. The decision was to stay neutral. That's a step in the right direction when it comes to firefighters. Now, if you want to talk about law enforcement, I'm not going to tell you today that I have their endorsements, but I think by the end of this race, we will have their endorsements. And here's why. They all know what Elizabeth Warren talks about. A few months ago, she went to the NAACP dinner and said that it's law enforcement that continues to terrorize the African American community. That's what she said, and she just said it again a few days ago, basically reinforced that same opinion, that law enforcement is the problem in this country, and not the Black Lives Matter or the progressive groups that are funded by George Soros, which, by the way, send trackers to my events, and no, he's not a tracker, just so you know. That's Joe Dunn. He's a great guy.
He really exists.
So look, just to answer your question, unions, I've been endorsed by the New England Laborers Trade Union for the last 3 election cycles. They see Republicans as part of the solution. We're for business, we're for small companies that are trying to make it, trying to grow, trying to create new companies, new buildings. The building trades get it. They see Republicans as friends. I think the perception that unions are against Republicans wholly is only because you see groups like the teachers union or some other groups out there that just, you know, are unwilling to bend nationally.
Government unions.
Yeah, government unions. It's too bad because I think they all could be partners in trying to keep the system going. You know, the MBTA literally stopped working for an entire month in, was it March of 2015, right after Baker, February or March, it stopped for an entire month. And Charlie Baker was able to get a 3-month lift on the Pacheco law, which forces union companies to only do work on the T. He was able to get 3 years of privatized, you know, help in there. And the Carmen's union, still, with our pension fund completely upside down, with $6 billion still in deferred maintenance, is angry at Charlie Baker for trying to find solutions to fix what they haven't been able to fix for decades. So look, there's going to be people that are resistant, but don't panic. I don't mean to sound derogatory to unions, but their enrollment continues to shrink. I think they're below 11% now registered in Massachusetts. So it's a smaller number than people think. The fact is, it's you, it's your friends, your neighbors, your kids, your relatives. They're the ones that are voting out there that really make a difference. They're the ones that know what's going on. They're the ones that saw that Donald Trump, you know, was a solution for America. They're the ones that I think put Scott Brown into office, got Charlie Baker in, and are going to help us win in 2018. Oh, you gotta go.
I checked online this afternoon, and for every dollar of federal taxes that people pay in the state of Massachusetts, we're getting back approximately 80 cents.
67 cents. 67.
Tell us what you plan to do to correct.
Well, this is the sick thing about Massachusetts. Right, for every dollar we send to DC, we're getting back 67 cents. Now, you know, you're not going to get 100% back because they're using up a bunch of it for, you know, whatever down in DC. It's being wasted. We obviously want to stop the waste. But the other thing, and this is really what was very eye-opening when I first got onto the Ways and Means Committee in my first couple of years was I was sitting there next to a Democrat, and we were getting testimony from the Department of Transitional Assistance, and there was somebody bragging about how many people we were able to add. This is under Deval Patrick and Obama. How proud they were to add another, I don't know, it was 100,000 people to the WIC program and to the SNAP program and to EBT. They were proud about enrolling more people. And I turned to the Democrat and said, "What? Why are we so excited about more people needing state government services?" And she said, "That's federal dollars that come back to our state, and they get spent here in our state. That's exciting. That's a lot of money that comes back here." I thought, that is a really sick way of looking
Create jobs.
right.
Create jobs.
It's that permanent dependency that this state has tried to put in place so that people always are looking for government as the solution. Individual freedom, our rugged individualism, the fact that we are the ones that determine our own future, that's what we should be looking at every day, not what can government do for us. I guess it sounds like Kennedy, right, back in the day. Ask not what government can do for us, but what we can do for... We don't even need to do anything for government right now. They've got plenty of money, of our money. They have record tax collections in Washington, D.C. We have, in Massachusetts, record tax collections. They just continue to spend it in ways that we are totally unaccountable and don't help us. So I'm not even sure if I answered your question, but yeah, we need to get government to be more efficient with our money and let us keep more of it. You know, it's not so much what's returned, but how much we shouldn't be sending down there. Okay, got one over here.
Are you far against bringing thoroughbred racing back to Massachusetts?
Don't we have thoroughbred racing in Massachusetts?
No, we don't.
The whole casino thing was supposed to help, there was a fund set up to try
I know what
to...
it was supposed to do, but it didn't. So are you far against? You could say yes or no.
You know, it's funny, I was personally against the gambling bill, the original 2011 gambling bill personally, but my district wanted it. A lot of folks wanted it, so I was in favor of it, and it was supposed to re-spark the whole thoroughbred industry. Now, this is another thing. You guys know we just legalized marijuana, and everybody's talking about all the new revenue that's going to be coming in from marijuana sales. Back in 2011, and Steve, you can back me up on this, everybody thought that our budget was going to be balanced on all this new casino money that was coming in. All right, Plain Ridge Casino, that's been open for a while, is losing money. The casino in Everett isn't even open. You know, I mean, the state is not realizing this huge windfall of cash from the casinos, and the thoroughbred industry certainly hasn't been helped by that at all. Look, we can't look for quick fixes off sin taxes. And, you know, but again, casinos, if you choose to go there, that's your choice. And again, my district wanted it, I voted for it. It's not for me personally. Marijuana, I was against, okay? The ballot question was 12% tax on it. The legislature said, oh, we got a gold mine here, let's make it 28%. And then it got scaled back to 20%. They think that's a great middle ground. I mean, again, I'm not for marijuana in the state, but when the people speak with a ballot, they're supposed to be honored, like the gas tax. People honor the gas tax. They should honor the original marijuana ballot question. Beacon Hill should not be looking to profit off this. And by the way, that leads me to one other thing, the millionaire's tax. Everybody familiar with the millionaire's tax? Yeah, you're not in favor of it. I'm guessing you're clapping against it. The millionaire's tax is going to be, anybody who makes over $1 million in the state will be taxed at an additional 4% on their income. Okay? Now that includes people who use S-corps for their corporations. If you know what an S-corp is, my wife and I have our business set up as an S-corp. All the money you bring in from that company is counted against your personal income. So an S-corp can put you right over that millionaire's limit, even though you and your wife might take a salary of $50,000, $60,000, $70,000. Because if anybody here owns a small business or works for a small business, you probably know the presidents or owners of those companies sometimes don't take a salary in some years when times are tough. They want to keep their employees working, and they may take zero money. Now, this millionaire's tax is going to force people out of the state. First of all, millionaires know where to park their money, whether they park themselves in New Hampshire or they take their money and offshore it. That's going to happen, and because that's what happened in Maryland. 32,000 people in Maryland left that state after the millionaire's tax. I forget what the total, if you look up, Google Chris Christie and the Maryland millionaire's taxes, he was talking about it. It's incredible the amount of money that left Maryland overnight. And by the way, there is a lot of money in Maryland because they're right next to Washington, D.C., where all our money and that 33 cents is being kept down there. But that millionaire's tax is being sold as going to taking care of transportation and education. No, which makes it unconstitutional. Our state law says that you can't earmark ballot questions where that money is going to go, and yet they're already saying it's going to go for education and transportation. So right there, the Attorney General and Secretary of State should invalidate the question. But you know this is Massachusetts, where our Attorney General once said, it's not illegal to be illegal. So this millionaire's tax is going to make it on the ballot, and right now it's polling at 80%. 80%. So it's very likely to pass. And it's very likely to drive a lot of job creators out of our state. So we got a real hard choice to make down the road here as to what we want from our state. And again, I'll just bring it back to the fact that we're not getting leaders down in Washington that are trying to look out for us. They're part of the problem. I'm looking to be part of the solution.
Thank you.
Thank you very much, Jeff. First thing you can do to help Jeff, one of these bumper stickers. A bumper sticker on a car for 8 weeks is the equivalent of spending $1,200 in paid advertising for that candidate. I put mine on my car last week. It's staying on until Christmas 2018. When I expect to get the new bumper sticker for Senator-elect Diehl. So make sure you have one of these put on your car, and I promise my hand to my beloved father's grave, they will not take the paint off your car. It's perfectly safe. It's fine. And then I gotta give this back to him. I stole someone, so I have to give it back to him before. Don't let me run off with it. But it's important to note, upcoming this year is Marlborough municipal elections. The Marlborough Republican City Committee, which is willing to go down to Whitman and help young 40-year-olds run for state rep, is always looking for city council candidates to help. I served 8 years in the city council. Steven served 6 years in the city council. You always pick the worst time to leave. Dick Yerkes served so long on the city council that they can't remember when he started.
I was on there before Richard.
Yeah, you know, we have tons of institutional knowledge. And we also help out build the farm team at the legislative level. The state rep candidates and the state senate candidates that we elect this year, or excuse me, in 2018, are going to be the governors and the senators that are going to serve alongside of Senator Diehl in the future. And that's building our farm team here in Marlborough and statewide. And to help with that, we need you. I need you. The committee members need you to be active. Our committee treasurer got trapped in a table in the corner. He's back behind there. He's been a trooper. He has clipboards. If you haven't filled it out, name, address, the ward if you know it, your email. Please, your email. I'm not going to sell your email to, inappropriate websites. It's very easy for us to get a hold of you. Be sure you get that. And also, we have envelopes pre-addressed. This event is free. Supporting candidates like Jeff is not. Any help you can give us financially would be greatly appreciated. Or you can go to our Facebook page. Our actual website right now doesn't have the correct donation link. But if you go to facebook.com/Marlborough GOP, there's a donate button on there. You can send us a donation online. And thank you all very much for coming. Be sure to go to Facebook while you're there making a donation. Like our page. We're going to post our meetings there. Follow us on Twitter, GOP Marlborough. Everything is with the UGH. Make sure you have a Diehl bumper sticker. There are 7 federal Republican committees in New England: Rhode Island, Connecticut, Massachusetts, Vermont, New Hampshire, Maine, and Marlborough. So, we don't just help state rep candidates, we help out federal candidates. And what we need is all of you involved. If you care about the Trump agenda, come out and help us get Jeff elected and get Jeff's replacement down in Whitman elected. It's a great victory to elect a United States Senator, and then it's a long-term loss when we lose the state rep seat. So we have to win back. We want to win back the Marlborough seat. It was held by former Representative Levy. It's going to be held by a Republican again. And let's get a majority on the Republican majority on the city council. We're lucky we already have a Republican mayor. Let's give him a Republican majority. Again, all the information is on the table over here. The one that poor Todd is trapped behind. If you haven't filled out the little form, please print. Let's fill that out. Maybe take an envelope. My business cards are on there. You can email me. You can call me. You can call me at 3 o'clock in the morning. I really won't mind. I'll mind a little bit. We have information from the Renew Mass Coalition on sanctuary cities with information to contact your legislators. Make sure you call Danielle Gregoire and Carmine Gentilis and tell them you oppose sanctuary states. Make sure you tell them, what you oppose, be vocal and be heard. God bless you all for coming out. This was a fabulous turnout. There's still a little bit of food left in the back. The waiter's like, there's still food, there's still food. Help yourselves. We have the room for the rest. Make sure you buy lots of wonderful cocktails and tip generously to our wonderful wait staff. And thank you very much. I don't know how much long Geoff has to go his little bit of a drive, but I'm sure he'll be happy to take more questions from you.
It's only my wedding anniversary tomorrow, so,
Yeah.